Deep-sea horror is one of the worst experiences one can experience. The sense of dread and loneliness coupled with claustrophobia and the fear of the unknown can cause anyone to die of a panic attack, especially when communications are down and no way to steer your vessel, endlessly going deeper into the depths of the ocean that no one has explored yet. The lights are going down, the pressure is making the vessel very compact, and oxygen is running out. You are being pulled down by the weight of gravity, and you have no idea whether help will arrive or not. All you can do is pray. On June 18th, a 5-person submersible vessel taking tourists on a $250,000 trip to see the wreckage from the 1912 Titanic disaster undersea went missing in the Atlantic off Canada. Just about an hour after it was submerged, communications were lost, and the sub has since been missing for almost 4 days now, which is worrisome because the sub only contains about 4 days of oxygen. There are 2 theories as to what might have happened. The first one being that the sub might have floated to the surface on its own, which is the reason why aerial searches are ongoing to search for the missing sub, and the second being that the sub imploded, resulting in the loss of communication, and this is the worst-case scenario. OceanGate Inc. is a privately owned U.S. company in Everett, Washington, that provides crewed submersibles for tourism, industry, research, and exploration. The company was founded in 2009 by Stockton Rush and Guillermo Sonline. In 2021, OceanGate began taking paying tourists in its Titan submersible to visit the wreck of the Titanic. As of 2022, the price to be a passenger on an OceanGate expedition to the Titanic shipwreck is $250,000 per person. When he was young, Stockton Rush's father introduced him to a personal friend, astronaut Pete Conrad, who advised him to get a pilot's license if Rush wanted to become an astronaut. In 1980, Rush earned a commercial pilot's license at 18 years old, but later was told his visual acuity would disqualify him from becoming a military pilot, and he moved from San Francisco to Seattle to work for McDonnell Douglas as a flight test engineer for F-15 Eagle jets, building his fortune by investing his inheritance in tech companies. After attending the launch of Spaceship One, he realized that, "I didn't want to go up into space as a tourist. I wanted to be Captain Kirk on the Enterprise. I wanted to explore," and pivoted to pursue undersea exploration. Because the cold waters of Puget Sound required significant time and technical gear for diving, he thought, being in a sub and being nice and cozy and having a hot chocolate with you beats the heck out of freezing and going through a 2-hour decompression hanging in deep water. But when he tried to purchase a submarine, he learned there were fewer than 100 privately owned submarines worldwide and was unable to purchase one, instead building one from plans in 2006. Rush's experience and research led him to 2 basic conclusions. 1, that submersibles had an unwarranted reputation as dangerous vehicles due to their use in ferrying commercial divers, and 2, the Passenger Vessel Safety Act of 1993 needlessly prioritized passenger safety over commercial innovation. Based on a marketing study he commissioned, which concluded there was sufficient demand for underwater ocean tourism, which would in turn support the development of new deep-diving submersibles that would enable further commercial ventures including resource mining and disaster mitigation, he founded OceanGate with a business partner in 2009. OceanGate intends to make underwater exploration cheaper and accessible to private citizens, similar to how Blue Origin and SpaceX have attempted to drive down spaceflight costs. Rush said there were 2 primary obstacles: the perception of danger and the small number of submersible vehicles with a human crew, which primarily are built and owned by government agencies. The OceanGate-designed Cyclops 1 and Titan submersibles are launched and recovered from a dry dock-like launch and recovery platform that can be towed behind a commercial vessel. Once the platform and submersible reach the target location, the platform's flotation tanks are flooded, and it sinks below the surface turbulence to a depth of 9 m. The submersible then lifts off for its underwater mission. Upon the submersible's return to the platform, the flotation tanks are pumped out, and the platform can be taken back into tow or brought aboard the host vessel. This allows OceanGate to use vessels without human-rated cranes. The platform is approximately 35 feet long and 15 feet wide and can lift up to 20,000 pounds. It is based on a concept developed by the Hawaii Undersea Research Laboratory. Titan was a 5-person submersible vessel operated by OceanGate Inc. According to OceanGate, it was designed to dive as deep as 4,000 m for site survey and inspection, research and data collection, film and media production, and deep-sea testing of hardware and software. The 22 feet long, 23,000 pounds vessel was constructed from carbon fiber and titanium. The entire pressure vessel consisted of 2 titanium hemispheres, 2 matching titanium interface rings, and the 56-inch internal diameter, 7.9 feet-long carbon fiber wound cylinder. One of the titanium hemispherical end caps was fitted with a 15-inch diameter acrylic window. In 2020, OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush stated that the hull had been downgraded to a depth rating of 9,800 feet after demonstrating signs of cyclic fatigue. In 2020 and 2021, the Titan was rebuilt. Titan's steering controls consisted of a wireless game controller Logitech GF710 with modified analog sticks. It moves at up to 3 knots using 4 electric thrusters. According to OceanGate, the vessel contained monitoring systems to continuously monitor the strength of the hull. The vessel has life support for 5 crew members for 96 hours. There was no onboard navigation system. The support ship, which monitors the position of Titan relative to its target, sends text messages to Titan providing distances and directions. The Titan had 7 backup systems intended to return the vessel to the surface in case of emergency, including ballast that can be dropped, a balloon, and thrusters. Some of the backup systems were designed to work even if all aboard the submersible are unconscious. There are sandbags held by hooks that dissolve after a certain number of hours in the water and release the sandbags, letting the vessel float to the surface. An OceanGate investor explained that if the vessel does not automatically ascend after the elapsed time, those inside the vessel could help release the ballast, either by tilting the ship back and forth to dislodge it, or by utilizing a pneumatic pump to loosen the weights. The Titan made its first dive to the Titanic in July 2021. It made additional dives in 2022 and 2023. Each dive typically has a pilot, 3 paying passengers, and a guide on board. Once these people are inside the submersible, the hatch is bolted shut and can only be reopened from the outside. The descent from the surface to the Titanic typically takes 3 hours, with the full dive taking approximately 8 hours. Throughout the journey, the submersible is expected to emit a safety ping every 15 minutes to be monitored by the above-water crew. The vessel and surface crew can also communicate via short text messages. Customers who travel to the Titanic with OceanGate, referred to as mission specialists by the company, spend $250,000 to be involved in the 8-day expedition. OceanGate intended to conduct multiple expeditions to the Titanic in 2023, but because of poor weather in Newfoundland, the company has only launched a single expedition so far in 2023, and that turned out to be a disaster. Because the Titan operated in international waters, it was not subject to any safety regulations and was not certified as seaworthy by any regulatory agency or a third-party organization. Reporter David Pogue, who completed the expedition in 2022 as part of a CBS News Sunday morning feature, stated that all passengers who enter the Titan sign a waiver confirming their knowledge that it is an experimental vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Television producer Mike Rice, who has also completed the expedition, noted that the waiver mentions death 3 times on page 1. A 2019 article published in Smithsonian Magazine referred to OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush as a daredevil inventor. In the article, Rush is described as having said the U.S. Passenger Vessel Safety Act of 1993 needlessly prioritized passenger safety over commercial innovation. In a 2022 interview, Rush told CBS News, "At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed. Don't get in your car. Don't do anything." In 2018, OceanGate's Director of Marine Operations, David Lockridge, composed a report documenting safety concerns he had about the Titan. In court documents, Lockridge said that he had urged the company to have the Titan assessed and certified by an agency, but OceanGate had declined to do so, citing an unwillingness to pay. He also said that the transparent viewport on its forward end was only certified to reach a depth of 4,300 feet, only a third of the depth required to reach the Titanic. Lockridge was also concerned that OceanGate wouldn't perform non-destructive testing on the vessel's hull before undertaking manned dives, and alleged that he was repeatedly told that no scan of the hull or bond line could be done to check for delaminations, porosity, and voids of sufficient adhesion of the glue being used due to the thickness of the hull. OceanGate said that Lockridge, who was not an engineer, had refused to accept safety approvals from OceanGate's engineering team, and that the company's evaluation of the Titan hull was stronger than any kind of third-party evaluation Lockridge thought necessary. OceanGate sued Lockridge for allegedly breaching his confidentiality contract and making fraudulent statements. Lockridge countersued, stating that he had been wrongfully terminated as a whistleblower for bringing up concerns about the Titan's ability to operate safely. The two parties settled a few months later. Later in 2018, the Marine Technology Society wrote a letter to Rush expressing unanimous concern regarding the development of Titan and the planned Titanic expedition, indicating that the current experimental approach could result in negative outcomes from minor to catastrophic that would have serious consequences for everyone in the industry. A signatory of the letter later told the New York Times that Rush had called him after reading it to tell him that he believed industry standards were stifling innovation. The Titan has made 3 expeditions to the Titanic wreck site, the first of which was in July 2021. In 2022, reporter David Pogue was on board the surface ship when communication with the Titan was lost during a dive. Pogue's December 2022 report for CBS Sunday Morning, which questioned Titan's safety, went viral on social media after the submersible again lost contact with its support ship in June 2023. In the report, Pogue commented to Rush that, "It seems like this submersible has some elements of MacGyvery jerry-riggedness." He noted that a $30 Logitech Bluetooth game controller with modified control sticks is used to steer and pitch the submersible, and that construction pipes were used as ballast, both of which gave a sure sign of impending doom. In a 2022 dive to the Titanic, one of the thrusters on the Titan was accidentally installed backwards, and the submersible started spinning in circles when trying to move forward near the seafloor. As documented by the BBC documentary Take Me to Titanic, the issue was bypassed by steering while holding the game controller sideways. According to November 2022 court filings, OceanGate reported that in a 2022 dive, the submersible suffered from battery issues and as a result had to be manually attached to a lifting platform, causing damage to external components. On the 16th of June, the expedition to the Titanic departed from St. John S., Newfoundland, aboard the research and expedition ship MV Polar Prince. The ship arrived at the dive site on the 17th of June, and the dive operation began the following day on Sunday, the 18th of June at 9:30 a.m. For the first hour and a half of the descent, the Titan communicated with the Polar Prince every 15 minutes, but communication stopped after a recorded communication at 11:15 a.m. The vessel was expected to resurface at 4:30 p.m. At 7:10 p.m., the U.S. Coast Guard was notified of the missing vessel. The submersible had up to 96 hours of breathable air supply for its 5 passengers when it set out, which was estimated to have expired on the morning of the 22nd of June 2023. Many errors could have occurred. One possibility is that the Titan's communication equipment may have failed, meaning they cannot communicate with the surface crew but can freely navigate. It is also possible there is a problem with the ballast system, which is responsible for managing the vessel's buoyancy. Another scenario is that the Titan became snared or fouled on a piece of debris, preventing ascent. It may also have suffered damage or a mechanical failure that caused the submersible to implode, which would have killed the occupants instantly due to the underwater ambient pressure.
It is appropriate to mention the 5 people that were on board the Titan submersible. Hamish Harding, the British billionaire and chairman of aviation company Action Aviation, is among those missing. Dubai-based Harding had posted on social media that he was proud to be heading to the Titanic as a mission specialist, adding, "Due to the worst winter in Newfoundland in 40 years, this mission is likely to be the first and only manned mission to the Titanic in 2023. Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman. Their family has confirmed they are on board. Shahzada is vice chairman of one of Pakistan's largest conglomerates, Engro Corporation, with investments in fertilizers, vehicle manufacturing, energy, and digital technologies. According to the website of SETI, a California-based research institute of which he is a trustee, he lives in Britain with his wife and 2 children. Shahzada's interests include wildlife photography, gardening, and exploring natural habitats, while Suleiman is a fan of science fiction literature. Paul-Henri Nargeolet, the 77-year-old French explorer, whom media say is one of the 5 on board, is director of underwater research at a company that owns the rights to the Titanic wreck. A former commander in the French Navy, he was both a deep diver and a minesweeper. After retiring from the Navy, he led the first recovery expedition to the Titanic in 1987 and is a leading authority on the wreck site. In a 2020 interview with France Bleu Radio, he spoke of the dangers of deep diving, saying, "I am not afraid to die. I think it will happen one day." Stockton Rush, the founder and CEO of the vessel's US-based operating company OceanGate, is also on the Submersible, according to media reports. "It is an amazingly beautiful wreck," Rush told Britain's Sky News of the Titanic earlier this year. Rush became the youngest jet transport-rated pilot in the world when he obtained his DC-8 type captain's rating at the United Airlines Jet Training Institute in 1981 at the age of 19, according to his biography on OceanGate's website. "It is important to note here that these people were all billionaires, but I know for a fact that they would have traded places with you for an instant just so they can safely exist and live out the rest of their lives. We can just hope that the search efforts go well and the missing sub is found."